I call the meeting of our policy committee. And just a note, personal note, I talked with Henry Brewer this afternoon, and he told me that his mother had fallen and broken her hip, and he would not be able to be here tonight. And if y'all don't mind, I'm gonna begin the meeting with prayer. Gracious Lord, we thank you for this day. We thank you for the beautiful days that we've been having. We thank you for the opportunity to serve the children of Robeson County. And Lord, just give us the wisdom and the forethought and the energy and all that we need, Lord, to succeed in this endeavor. We thank you for everyone that's here tonight. We ask a special blessing on Henry's mother at this time, Lord, that you would bring about a quick healing to her. And we just thank you for it all in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Does everyone have a copy of the policy revision sheets? Y'all able to get those? Now, okay. Okay, well, that's the same information, right?
It just, without all the markup that I gave you.
Right. Okay. But you have that in booklet form. I brought this and I forgot to bring it, but and of course I'm learning my way here, like all of us, board members are especially. But from time to time there are revisions that the State Board of Education sends to the local boards for adaptation or adoption or revision, and that is the case at this time. And of course, all of our school board policies are acceptable or accessible online. And I did quite a bit of going back and forth between the sheets with proposed revisions and what is currently in our board policies. And as I have spoken with Ms. Karen and Dr. Robert about the proposed changes, the information that I have shows that certain changes have already been approved, and it's a matter of inserting them into our policy manual. Is that correct?
They've already been inserted.
They've already been okay. Well, and maybe I missed something, but I did not see, and again, I probably did miss something, but I probably need some further direction too on seeing where the revised policies have been inserted into our policy manual. But most of them, as we go through them, have been approved. There are a small number that have been removed. And for example, 1720 / 40115 7225, the sixth one on page 1. And this is just a question from my own information. So does this mean that the entirety of that particular policy has been removed, that there's not going to be a substitution or a revised policy inserted?
We removed that on August 11th when we adopted the new Title IX policy. We adopted the new Title IX policy.
Okay. So, but obviously a lot of these issues are very important issues, so they're going to be addressed. They're just going to be addressed in different language. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So then I'm assuming that at some point, we will receive the new policies as they come about and are written and inserted. Is that correct? These are the ones that are removed?
Yes, and during that time, between August and September, we got rid of 2 policies. We amended 3 policies, and we adopted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 new policies that were all related to Title IX.
Okay,
As we were updating this section, before we got back to updating this section, we updated the Title IX, which is in this section.
okay, got you.
So that makes some of our work this evening a little bit easier.
Right. Okay, I just wanted to be sure about that because, a lot of this is really important and obviously it doesn't need to be eliminated going forward entirely. Something needs to
Mr. Chairman,
place it.
so Ms. Karen, these are the ones that came from North Carolina School Board Association.
Yes, ma'am.
So you want us to take extensive look at the where it say revise at? Is that correct? Where it say updated?
And some of them we've already revised.
Right.
And removed and, have been changed since we had this.
Right, because we're looking at the 4,000 series according to the agenda.
Yeah.
So Mr. Chairman, if she could you point out to us which one you want us to take a look at? Is it all the 4,000? Certain ones.
Yes, certain one.
Can she point out the ones that she wants us to look at? So we can go directly to those and be looking at them?
Yes. You can do that.
Yeah. How do we do this page by page or how do you want to do it?
Yes.
On page 1, the first one is, policy number 4,000. Focus on students. And to be more efficient, while we're there, we might want to take a look at all of the ones that are in the 4,000 series.
That's correct.
That would simplify. Get this back up again.
Question.
That's 4,000 or 4,003.
Yes,
What we have in this book, is that what has already been looked at and reviewed and ready for a recommendation from the policy committee to the board?
Yes, ma'am.
And what about,
The Central Office Policy Committee, Mr. Priest looked at this, last year sometime. Mr. Craig, remember we all looked at it, the second part of the student series. And we were ready to bring it to the board policy committee to take a look at, with our recommendation. But during that time, Mr. Gentry had brought out that some of the policies automatically got looked at or approved or rescinded because of the Title IX regulations had a specific deadline, which is August.
So some has already been approved,
Yes, ma'am.
and just, we're looking at only those that have
Remain.
remained.
Yes, ma'am.
that's why I said if Ms. Karen could go through and show us which one that's already been approved.
What did you say, Ms. Fairby?
If Ms. Karen could go through, tell us exactly which one we need to be looking at.
Got it. Don't have it on, I want to ask a question. Don't have it on the side in red, the ones that need to be revised and the one that said no action on this book?
right.
So I,
So, yeah, you got the same information you got in
Yeah.
the book there as I'm looking at here. Mine's just not in the book. But, yeah,
no, I,
it has the policy, number and then the policy title, current policy and notes for consideration. So, yeah, that same information is in the book.
right. What I'm saying is like Ms. Alicia said, like no action. Everything else may be good on the page itself where it says no action, for an example. That's why I said if Ms. Karen could go through and pull out what we need to be looking at.
On the first page, the Central Office Policy Committee, on the first page, the first one, they approved the first one, the 4,000, everything was okay, they had no recommendations. And then it wasn't, no action for the next two, it was 4,001, 4,002, was no action.
Okay.
We didn't have any recommendations for the next two. And then the 17, 20, 40, 15, and 722, that was one that was removed. Okay? So actually, on the first page, we didn't have any recommendations, and then the very last one on that page was removed.
So I crossed that out because it got revised on mine. Okay.
Right.
Now, I'm going back to that booklet that we got earlier, where there was a whole series, a whole book of policies that came down from DPI. Remember, just a few weeks ago? And a lot of them addressed the same material that's removed here. So this is going to be removed and that's going to be inserted.
And that, yes.
Okay.
It's already-
Okay.
All right.
And if you go, you see where that took its place.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, I cross-referenced it with that email, and then email was.
Okay. And I thought in reading this closely that language looked very familiar. And then it dawned on me that was what a lot of that was about and previously. Yes, sir.
Ms. Karen, help me out, and I'm trying to remember, which gets me in trouble. But help me as far as going through this part, like that, the key here where it's got 4,000 and it says revise on the side, that part, okay. If we go then to where that, and I think this is what was just said, but if we go then to where that 4,000's at,
Right here.
what's written here, and it's got the yellow there, it's been done. That's been done here,
The yellow is our custom, it's what we
fixed it.
personally say.
Hmm.
It's what we as a district want in the policy.
And so actually is, but in this, and where that revision there, we came in and that's been done for that 4,000
Right,
already.
right.
Okay.
It's what we want.
What we wanted, and they've got what the state said to have in there.
Right.
And then we added that yellow as far as making it our own.
Right.
And then if you go back to 4,001, no 4,001, it says no action, so there was nothing needed to be done to it. So we just get along, says that for the next. And then 4,003, it says revised.
Okay, so right here.
And when you get to 4,003, and it's got, I think that's the one where you've got the marking through some
Yeah, got the English and not primary language.
And they've actually, that's been done also, right, Ms. Karen? Am I saying that correctly when I say 4,003, where it says it's been revised? It's minor revisions, that's what they've already went in here and done too, along with the state and with whatever we.
That's right.
Right. That's right.
And is it also correct
Yeah, there it is. Yeah, where they got, like, they've marked through with red on here, that's where, I'm thinking that was done by the state before they sent this down to us.
Right.
And they sent that down to us in the red, so this 4,003 is what they're saying should be fine, unless we wanted to add something else to it.
Right.
We could add something,
We could,
we could,
Uh-huh.
and that would be highlighted in yellow.
yes, ma'am. And now, we have looked through these policies in this.
The central office policy committee.
Right, right.
And when I say central office policy committee, it would be central office, staff members, and principals.
Mhm.
But then this had to go back to DPI, to their legal team, and they had to pass it through the legal
But actually,
filter.
the school board.
Board
All right, the state school board. Okay.
What the
Association.
association is different from the State Board of Education.
Right.
Right.
The School Board Association works with school boards, and they have attorneys on board to help us with policy. We pay a fee to the School Board Association to help us with this policy. They do the updating, they'll send everything that's updated to us.
Well, that was my point, that it passed through the legal.
Oh, yes, these are attorneys,
The auditor.
Janine
Yeah.
Murphy and Allison Schaefer.
Yes.
attorneys that work with this.
When they're getting, when we get this from Raleigh, those attorneys have looked at it. They went through it and they sent it. And they'll sometimes say, have your attorney look at this part or another part, but then we can add our own personal parts to it. And then that's when, once the committee does it, sends it to the board, and that's when we do our readings there and we go ahead and approve it, have it, ask for it to be approved, and it's put into our policy manual. So a lot of this stuff here, you look at it, it's been done, but it's go back and relook at it, just make sure you're good with it before it goes to the board.
And we normally don't change a whole lot, but we might change one or two rules or one or two things that we want to actually personalize for our district.
I think they had sent us something the other year where like we were having 2 board meetings per month. That was sent down with what, on one, I don't think it's in this one, but it said we were having 2 monthly meetings. That was in the policy, was sent down. Well, we have 1 monthly meeting, you know, we can have call meetings, so we just changed that to a 1. Sometimes the change is as small as that. I mean, that's important, that's what we have, but small change we need to make.
I guess the point is the one regularly scheduled meeting
Yeah.
versus a call meeting.
Right, yeah, we're not counting the call. You can do that at any time with the data.
But kind of cutting to the chase here, my thing is I'm gonna be kind of leading this at the board meeting. What is the best way for us to expedite this and let everyone know what's going on so everybody feels good about it? That's where I am right now. I don't want to be getting up and exactly how we're going to present this. It's a few pages, but it's a lot of information. And, you know, again, as we sit here, we know some of it's redundant, a lot of it is, but I want everybody to feel good about, what we're doing Tuesday night. You see where I'm coming from? I don't want to get into a long, lengthy discussion, but at the same time, I want everybody to feel good about what's happening and they don't leave confused about what we did.
That was why I recommended Ms. Karam, and I apologize for saying I did a generic question concerning the North Carolina School Board Association. Although I knew it, I overlooked you all, our new board members. But I did recommend Ms. Karam because she can go directly to it and speed it up. That's what you're saying, so we can expedite it quicker. Like Mr. Craig said, the yellow.
Okay, for example, or the board, every board member going to get this in their packet,
We normally do.
meeting packet.
We normally do.
Okay.
If you want them to, they can. And if you want them to do it, if Mr. Freeze wants to, and Mr. Craig wants them to get it this time around, they can.
Your thoughts on that?
Well, I'll say it this way. I think we've talked about this and this is for everybody. The only way to speed this process up as far as looking through this is people, too, they have to have it in their hands before a meeting
Absolutely.
and they have to go through it at home. If you come to a meeting, even with us here tonight, and try to have a meeting and go through this,
Yeah.
it gets very
The whole
tedious.
time.
It's very tedious. It takes some reading, I'm gonna say, away from here. Then when you come to the meeting, Mr. Gentry, as chairman, can highlight a few things, and if people's done the homework, then you go on and it's approved. But again, most of it's been done, especially if you go look at it and Gentry, you can come through here and say, okay, pages 1 through 10, somebody have a question on a particular page, and if you do, you turn to 15 and clear that one up and keep going.
Right.
I mean, I'm just throwing that as an example, because if you go through here at a meeting and take page by page,
Talk about the whole meeting time.
and I'm gonna say,
Meetings.
between this book here, and then if you put them all together, we ain't figured out yet how high that stack is. But it used to be 1 3-ring binder, now it's probably 2 or 3. So,
But I know that, everyone essentially got the same information in the booklet that was distributed. But you know how that goes. So I would feel more comfortable if if everyone, if all the board members had this, and then I can refer and underscore certain, well, for example, these policy numbers, and just, give an overview of that and then move forward. And like you said, that they will have had it in their hands, so no one can say, well, hey, I'm seeing this for the first time. So, is that doable?
Let me suggest something. The policy committee is here tonight and they have the book. Then the policy committee will take this book and go through it and highlight anything that you have a question about. Then at your next meeting, you will come in and talk about what changes that you should make, especially on this at this time, because the policy committee at central office has already gone through it. So you are reviewing what they want in the book. And if you don't have an issue with anything, then you go to the board meeting and ask the board to approve this information. But they have to have a copy in their packet prior to that board meeting.
Right.
That's the way that it should work.
That's my concern, is that they have a copy of it. And you stated it very well. If they've got a copy of it, then they can't say, hey, I can't see this. And I think I can present what needs to be presented, move it along.
Right. And it's not a long process.
Right.
You said the policy committee has met and we're recommending approval for the 4,000 or the
Right.
5,000 or whatever you have.
Right.
And while I'm talking, I received some information today from Allison, the attorneys, Allison and Janine Murphy, and I gave it to Ms. Floyd to make a copy for all of the board members because we are in trouble as far as our policy manual. It should have been completed. Now, we're going to have to work on it and work on it because I think we paid about 30,000 or 15,000 last year.
2 years, it was 25 to 30,000, if I'm not mistaken. So, thank you,
Right.
at least 25,000.
And we haven't done all of these. You'll see on this information that's given to me today, what we need to do. So we're going to have to work diligently to complete this. And I've asked Ms. Floyd to get the policy committee at central office, pull in the principals and teachers while we have an opportunity when the students are not here, and let's work on it and work on it and work on it. Now, I see this is a really nice committee. I love it. Because you all don't work. You don't have a job. And that means that we can all come together and work on it and get it done. This is important because whatever we have online regarding policy is,
That's the gospel.
that's it.
Yeah.
And we don't want to mess up.
Right.
So I'm encouraging you all.
Well, I'm all for that, yeah.
Work. Yes. Oh,
I got a question, Chair. How we get behind on the policies? They're late on, how did we get behind on the policy?
how did we get behind on the policy?
Yes. No, I know, I don't know, just a question.
I'll tell you. So
I think it's obvious that we're behind, but the good thing is that we're gonna make a right by going forward, having the meeting that Ms. DeFreeze mentioned. And some districts are actually meeting every week. Some are meeting, the committee, some are meeting twice a week. Ms. Floyd, have you already set up a meeting with your policy committee for it? To try to bring it together?
Well, actually, I have two sets that are
Ready?
ready for the board policy committee,
Okay,
which is this set of the 4,000
okay.
and the first set of the 7,000.
With your recommendation
Right, and
for us tonight,
well, if you wanted to go,
we got to get it done.
and the books are printed and ready to go with. So we did go with the 4,000, the second set and the first set of the 7,000.
Those are the two most needy areas.
Those are the two that I have completed and ready.
Oh, okay. So now I haven't seen what you were holding up there. Obviously, I can look at it and tell that takes in a whole lot more than what we're talking about here. A
Yeah,
whole lot more.
this came out today.
Yeah.
You have some copies, everybody have a copy?
I have a copy. You got it.
Copyright. Oh, okay.
It's this. thing.
Because I'm going to be asking the board, maybe not this meeting, but the next meeting, if we want to continue using the School Board Association. And whether we want the custom, where they just update, or if they will help us write the policy. And we always use the custom
Right.
so that we are in compliance in every way.
That's right. That's what we're doing.
Well, and being in on these training sessions, I knew policy was important, but now I'm realizing just how important it is hearing what I've heard. And you have all your Ts crossed and your Is dotted.
Yes, sir.
So Ms. Floyd, Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry. Ms. Floyd, can you make some recommendations to us tonight that we can move on? And then I see today's Thursday. Oh, wow. Okay. I was trying to do it where we could get some books out to the other board members. They can look at it, but it won't be that fast.
Well, one thing, if we can get these through, the two that we already have that's been waiting, if we can get those passed and done, that will be good. And then if, for the future, if we could all meet together, the board policy committee and the central office policy committee, if we could meet at once. And like Mr. Free said, since, you all don't work. For various reasons, I mean, I'm not saying,
We don't have a check-in job.
I mean, you know,
Sounds better.
so if we could all meet at one time, that way we wouldn't have to go through it twice, and that we could go through it all together.
That's right.
And I wouldn't have to necessarily bring back the recommendations or bring back the suggestions or what the central office policy committee said. Because there are principles, and like when we went through the HR, the first section of the HR, then the HR people are the experts in those sections. They work in those sections every day. We also had a representative from NCAE there to help with those policies during that time. So it gives you various perspectives that help us shape these policies during that time. And it's not just here seeing the notes that were jotted down during that time, but you actually get to hear the discussion. And sometimes it helps too. It can help you too, as a board member, to know why certain things are done or why we can't, or.
That's right.
That's an excellent idea.
And that would expedite the whole thing.
Yes.
Expedite, because then when we made those recommendations to the board to approve it, we wouldn't have to have that second step, because it would already be done.
Right. I agree.
Yes, sir.
How long would it take us to actually do a series? Is it something that we could do maybe one a day, or how many days or hours it take to go through one?
It depends, and it depends on the section. And it depends on the, it just depends on the section. Your student policy and your, human resource policies probably would be your more thorough sections because of the nature and what they entail. We do take the student behavior policies first, and you can understand why. And then as far as the board approving the policies, that depends on whether it's a new policy, because then you would have to do your first and second reading. If it's an amended policy, do it after your first read, so it just depends on if it's a new policy or whether we're revising the policy, how many reads it actually takes. And, you know, when you look on this chart, if it says adopt, then that's a brand new policy, and it would take your first and second read. But if it's a revision, then that's an amended policy, and it's the first read. And you remember that from when we did the Title IX policy. Remember, some of them we could approve in August, but then some of them we had to wait until September because it was a brand new policy,
It has to have 2 readings,
if it's new.
right, if it's new.
I'm jumping around here, but I see bomb threat mentioned on page 8 and page 9. And maybe I just overlooked it, but I did not see anything in the current policy that addresses bomb threats specifically.
15,
Am I correct in that or not?
And
go right here.
in the school safety, it talked about having specific type of drills. And at that point, and it's been about a year since we went through those policies, I think the principal wanted to have some discussions about the types of drills that they were required to have, because in that policy, it said they had to have specific handicap every year. That included like lockdown drills, if we could turn to that particular policy. And see, those are the kind of things that we went through. Those were the policies that we went through that yield discussion, that they would look to the board policy committee to help them, or they wanted advisement or wanted the board to help them out there. They wanted the board input on that particular policy. And it's been a while, Mr. Craig. Do you remember?
I remember going through most of this stuff here.
Do you remember that particular policy in
No.
discussion?
You talking about with the bomb threats?
Uh-huh.
Well, it's the bomb threats is back here on, there's a section responding to bomb
Responding to.
threats.
Give it over the discussion.
Discussions, I can't say I remember discussions, but I knew when we said there's in here, his information in here about bomb.
Right, I remember I saw the information today and I saw the notes. I was trying to go back and remember the discussion.
I can't remember the discussion. I just.
Whenever we got the one for the bomb threats, we had to accept what they said to us in regards to it, remember?
Right, I remember that part. But in that policy, it's
State and federal.
specific drills.
Right.
Is there a safety tip line in existence now?
There is.
Where is it revealed?
We're working to get it implemented, we're working to get it live. It's supplied by PI, by the state. To say something, anonymous recording system, SFARS. Say something, anonymous recording.
Say,
How does someone access that?
They can access it via telephone, via the web. It's an app.
Would that be on PSRC website?
It will be, yes.
Okay.
And the students the students will be trained on October the 13th and the end of the month. Teachers are being trained. Each school has a team. We started training before COVID. It got interrupted with COVID. And we've been offering refreshers.
Is there a target date for implementing safety tip line? We're getting it published
Yeah. the end of the month.
end of this month? Okay.
And, I don't have everything around district off the top of my head.
I think that's important. I really do.
It is important. And I will, look it up.
Thank you.
Yeah. Ms. Floyd, those that you want us to go ahead and look at to try to bring before the board on
Yes.
tonight, if you could point those out.
Yes, ma'am.
What page?
Policy 4050. Children of military family,
What page?
well, page 5 on your chart.
On the chart, for that one.
Look at that, 40.
Okay.
Militaries and stuff.
And then it's, it's defined.
We got no page, you have to find 40.
Yeah.
Is it 5 or 6 or?
It's in page 1 through 4. I just see policy code 1 through 4.
Your chart, you page 5, but then in your, the policy is 4050.
45th?
Yeah.
Okay, okay.
No, I see. Yeah.
And what was the recommendation from the policy?
They just wanted to make sure that, that we added and made sure we knew that our, impact survey, our military connect form address that letter A, the, identification of our military connected students,
Okay.
that was indicated in Power School and that our, impact survey, our handbook information that was addressed in there.
That impacts our Title IX funding, doesn't it? The military student population. Or we get additional funding.
Yes, we,
So the recommendation from the policy committee is to approve this.
Yeah, and make sure that,
Sure.
that we indicate.
Ms. Karen, but let me ask this question. I know what Ms. Brenda just asked. Follow me and let me see if I'm remembering it. On page 5 there, you got that big, that's the military. That's in your key in the front, right?
Yeah.
Okay, now, if we turn 50 in this book,
Right?
okay, if we go to 4050 in the book and it says there's 4 pages,
Mm-hmm.
okay, all of this in the book on that section, that 4050 section, when we got this book down from Raleigh, this blue and the black, all of that had been done. Am I correct?
Yeah.
All that's been done already. There's nothing in here that we went back and did with yellow, so we haven't added anything. This came from Raleigh as this year. And then when you go to page 404, it was originally adopted in 2011. Where they got revised is where we're at now. So as far as this part is concerned, when what we're doing with all of these like this, if we revised it, let's say next week when we met, that's the date that would go down there that the policy has been revised.
That's correct.
That's basically what we would be doing with this whole book or any other groups of policies we get. Raleigh's done a lot of the work. That's one reason you go with them and let them write this stuff, because we are not sitting here trying to write all this stuff. You let them do it. You have to pay them money, but for us to sit here and do this here would be, to me, almost impossible.
That's right.
They come in here and can do this, and then you can add our little wrinkles. But that's the way all these would be throughout here, with the blue where they've marked through or added. And you're saying, Mr. Karen, that this is one that we need to make sure we look at.
Right, and they want, and the central office committee wanted to make sure we added about the Power School and the military, the military connect form, survey form. You wanted to make sure we added that in.
That's already been,
Already done.
Oh, we got to add.
hasn't been
Add
added,
that.
and we need to add that.
So that's the recommendation that I was saying. So we, Yeah.
Make sure that's all up.
So when I send it back to the school board association, if the board approves it, then I'll send it to them and then I'll add that in.
And that's the Power School and what else?
Yeah,
Mr. Chairman, I make the motion that we go ahead and approve.
I remember that form, but what is the usual time frame for, sending it out and getting it back? It's pretty tight window, I think.
Well, now they send the military connect forms, and we send them out at the beginning of the school year. The data managers put it in Power School, and that's how we can collect our military, data. Our, our military.
Mr. Chairman, I make the motion that we add this to our policy as stated by Ms. Floyd from the policy committee, from the school policy committee.
Say that one more time, please.
I said I make the motion that we accept Ms. Karen's recommendation from the policy committee so we can add this into it.
Okay. You're talking about overall recommendation about that.
Oh, not overall, just the policy committee that's here tonight. What Ms. Floyd said, the policy committee for the school system said needs to be added. I'm making a motion that we go ahead and add it to the policy. This particular policy right here.
Okay. What she was just talking about.
Yes.
Okay, I got you.
Ms. Gentry, your policy member, you got Ms. Brenda, Mr. John, and yourself. Me and Mr. Bonte, we're busy.
Give me a second, John.
Yeah, I looked at the list, did you?
Didn't know you did.
I need a second.
Second,
Thank you, John.
all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Motion carries. I've got a question, and I was thinking back years and years ago. And there's at least two sections that address this, and it's talking about, well, I think it was one heading about discretionary school assignments. I can't put my hand on the page right now. But there was a famous document, probably still is, gotten even more famous, an affidavit. And I watched, discretionary admission, 4130. And also 4120 addresses it as well. Domicile or residence requirements. And at first, and of course, I didn't really pay that much attention to it or any attention to it until I became an administrator. And for a while, it was pretty tight. I mean, the student and the parents had to have a really good reason to transfer to another attendance area or specifically to another school. But as time went on, it got more and more liberal to the point where if they filled out an, hey, if a student got wild hair and I understand sometimes there are difficulties, there are certain students that a student doesn't get along with, it's a chronic situation. But in my mind, it got too liberal where it was almost on demand. And of course you see it done quite a bit with athletics, but I realize that there are good reasons for it. But in my mind, there ought to be a more strict criteria in hearing. Because, well, for one thing, the overloading schools, they may already have, and a good principal's gonna know that, and he's gonna hopefully refuse the request. But do y'all get what I'm talking about?
I think that you're talking about the transfer policy.
Yeah.
And not the domicile. And that's two different policies. Because the domicile, this is an affidavit and it goes through the courts. You have to have it notarized and a lot of that goes into that. We don't have a lot of that. That's when a parent is given the grandmother custody or the dad is going to have custody and those kinds of issues. That's not a problem. The problem that you're referring to is the transfer policy. And we have looked at it several years. I think last 20, we hear about the transfer policy. It's too liberal. You have to understand that you're never going to get 11 board members to make too many changes. That policy. And I think that the principals do a good job of saying that I'm overcrowded. But then some principals will say they're overcrowded and they're not. They want to pick and choose the kids they have. You know, there's certain people who want to transfer, they get it. But I say, if the school can accommodate the child and it's gonna help out the child care issue, then I'm gonna support it, even if the principal denies it, because he doesn't have room. Now, I know they don't always tell the truth about
Yeah, and I get that, I really do. I just, you know, saw over the years where there seemed to be, from what I could see, and maybe I didn't know all the facts, but that it was made for sometimes not a really good reason.
it. So, yeah, that happened.
Yeah.
Because some of the parents can go get a doctor's note because her child is emotionally upset at their school,
That's right.
because they can't pay to go to the doctor. Then you have kids who can't pay, they're denied. So there you go, and if they don't have an advocate on this board to speak for them, it's over for that child.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, ma'am.
it's Karen, our next one that you want us to look at?
Okay, the next one is our transfer policy. What is it on the page? It's on page 7. And that policy number is 4150. And it's on page 2 of 4150.
Okay,
And where it says transfer request forms are available at individual schools and at the central office, now it's online completion. Our transfer forms are online now, so we just need to change that. The transfer forms being available at individual schools and central office to online completion.
recommend approval, Mr. Chairman?
Second? Second? Do I hear a second? Making that the form of motion.
Yes.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. Motion carries.
John, I can't vote.
Next one, Ms. Karen.
It's gonna be 4,200.
Right.
Thanks. Page 8.
$1510, 4200, 7270, school safety.
Yeah, I got it in the bag. What session would it be?
And it's the policy, 100. It's page 4 of 6.
Adrian Loss.
Section 5.
Section 5.
Section 5. That's what it's talking about. At least 3 car paper deposits and 3 that meet the requirement of section and date on the procedure document and risk management plan. You have a plan of education for shelter up property. And that wasn't the part. They were concerned about having specific drills,
Grills, drills,
real specific. Tabletop drills, like lock that. Long thread drill.
see that on page 5. Responding to, we talked about this. Cool.
And and I guess that,
So this is the one where, Mr. Chairman, where some of the law enforcement officers went to the school and participated also, Ms. Karen? Yeah. I remember that. Ma'am,
I said, we might not have an issue after a year. Maybe the work itself out. I don't see any.
because page 105 addresses a lot of it. The responding to threats of the bomb threats,
They didn't have anything specific.
the drills are listed on it. So they were good with that? Nothing specific.
They said this principal should conduct no fewer than.
I mean, when you get into tabletop drills, you're actually, I've been in some where literally speaking, you would come in here like we are, and you do it with the table. You do the drill specifically like that, whether it's whatever kind of drill you're going, stuff like that. But now, we do have lockdown drills at schools. They do that anyway. I know that might not be addressed here, but I know one time we would do lockdown drills, we'd do bomb threat drills. And of course, you kind of let certain people know that it is a drill, but those are done. I don't know how much actual tabletop, and the reason I'm saying how much, I was involved with the tabletop drill at Lumberton Senior High over 10 years ago. And that was to the detail. It was done on a Saturday with fire trucks, police, and I mean, it was a full-fledged thing that went out there and happened that day. So, I think, the other drills, as far as I know, we do them. They're in policy what you have to have. I think you're probably okay with that.
Because the good thing about it was that the sheriff department law enforcement officers worked with us on this, remember? At the school site, anyway.
Define table.
Anybody remember?
For me, please.
Yes, Mr. Gentry, I can cut, you come in with a group of people and they have different roles to play in whether you're doing if you're doing a shooter on campus, but you're not, as far as, you're not going through the campus doing it, and I'm doing this on memory. You're doing it in a place here where you might have different figures on this table and you're walking through the situation as far as what people would do. People with different communications. What's the role of this person? What's the role of this person? What I can remember doing that. It's been a long time ago when we did it and involved in some of those things. We've been like the one we did out here, we did it tabletop, and we came out here, we did it as if there'd been a chemical spill close to the school that you had to evacuate the school. We had people outside laying down like, gas and stuff like that. And, but it had first been done like in a mock inside a building. And then we actually went out and, did it here pretty much all one Saturday morning over at the senior high.
And they used to do it for when around prom time about car accidents.
Keys of Life.
Uh-huh.
It's called Keys of Life. Keys of Life.
He's like,
Okay. Keys of-
what I don't see in here, and y'all know I can't see it so well with the lights, is, like I said, our local law enforcement officers assisted with that. Mr. Chairman, Ms. Floyd, do you all think we need to incorporate that into it as far as when the drill take place? Because the sheriff works really good with us on that. Now, I don't see it in here, but I do think we need to, in my opinion only, insert that in. What would you all say? In the drills?
Should we leave that to the principal or something, discretion or something? Because some schools can opt to get, officers and stuff out faster than others or better than others and stuff.
These are practice drills that I'm talking about. And in the past, I do know at Roland Middle, I forgot the officer that, there's a guy that's with the sheriff department that works with things like this.
And I'm
At least it used to be.
And it's mentioned in here, in the top part of that, well, in the top paragraph.
I can't see it, the lights.
It mentions in here, Department of Public Safety.
Okay, it's in there already. Okay, that's good.
And, that's really all that they had a question about. The next, the second policy in here, is, injury and loss and, internet. These policies that are gonna require a person to take. But really, everything else, they pretty much.
And what about the 4201 that said got a doubt beside it? 4201 on page 9, at the bottom.
Oh, 4201 is a new policy. It's coming in first read.
Okay.
We got to adopt this automatically.
So that's a policy we never had before.
Okay.
But, I mean, they didn't have any feedback or anything.
Okay.
So this will be the one that you'll be bringing forth?
It's a new one.
Recommend approval, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, they just don't live it, so they didn't have any feedback or any questions about it.
Okay, is there a second? Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Mr. Gentry, do you want these books to be sent out to the board members? So
Yes, ma'am.
that the next board meeting is put on the agenda?
Yes,
Because this would not be enough time for them to review it for Tuesday night.
yes,
Okay, I'll make sure that goes out tomorrow.
thank you.
So all of these, Mr. Chairman, Ms. Floyd, that has adopt, Ms. Chairman, these are those you want to go forth? You want to make them,
With these, with the ones that say adopt, would that be our first read at the board meeting?
to the new policy, so
Okay, I just want to make
You
sure.
would have to take just that section, the next.
Yep, okay, I just want to make sure.
and the good thing about the first reading is, if we did miss something before we go into the second, we can still end up inserting, amending it for it.
But,
Two board members.
there was like, what, 3 you called out, Ms. Karen, that needs to be approved Tuesday night? Was it 3?
1, 2,
Ones you called out?
They have some that are, I need first and second.
First read, so they won't be approved Tuesday night.
Is there
They'll
any
be-
to be approved? I know what Ms. Brenda was making motions. Is there any to actually be approved that's not being adopted that could be approved Tuesday night? Or not at this time?
Not at this
Not at this
time,
time,
because they
okay.
haven't seen it.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So,
Okay.
so mainly what we're gonna do is, got all that, but we'll get the books out where people can look at them.
right.
Yes.
So let me make sure I understand here. So I know some of these are labeled first read, but not all of them. So there's some that are marked approved that don't say first read, but for board approval purposes, Tuesday night is the first read for all of them. Is that correct? Or not? Take me out.
The first reading will have, they will end up putting it on a sheet, and all of those will be listed down that's got first reading on it, normally.
Okay, so if it's not labeled first read, then it's subject to approval on Tuesday night.
They will probably say new policy or adopt, they'll have the language in there.
And then we just tell the board, these are the ones you want approved by the.
Right.
Ms. Floyd, do you have enough books? for the board members? About 11? Okay.
Was there anything else, Ms. Floyd, that you needed? That's all, okay.
That's all.
I want to ask Mr. Genders to start thinking about which sections you want to do first. And that's what the attorney asked me to ask the board, the policy committee, which section. So let's start thinking about it, so the next time we meet, I'll have that information for them.
You're referring to this.
Yes.
Okay, anything else?
Now, if you all think that it will help, when we send those books, if I update this page right here with the ones that we don't need to worry about anymore, you think that'll help? Because they were already approved in
Yes.
September.
Right.
And see, that was why I was a little bit confused myself, and you're hitting back on that, so.
Like I gave.
I'm probably the world's easiest to get confused, but I think it would make it easier if the ones that are first reading only, that they are labeled as such.
Like I gave Mr. Gentry my sheet, but it was my notes, but it was kind of messy, but I gave it to Mr. Gentry because he was leading the meeting. But I'll go home and do it a little neater and send it home with those books. So that everybody understands what's going on.
Yeah, what's first read and what with.
Right.
A little note on the
Yeah,
sheet.
but we
The
don't.
more we can simplify it, the better, yeah.
That's the reason I was asking the question, like, if you're gonna do that, so is there nothing that's coming up to be approved Tuesday night? And now, there was two or three.
Yeah, that's what I said, about 2 or 3, she's
Yeah.
it's gonna come to a board.
It is some things that.
Could be approved, what Miss Brenda was,
Approved.
yeah, what Miss Brenda was making the motion for. So if you could clean that sheet up and then like on top say, these policies could be approved Tuesday night.
But the policy
And
won't.
that would clarify for, if they're gonna get this tomorrow, they could look at those.
Can look at that.
That's what I-
Yes,
Yeah, yeah.
So
just that little
we're
few.
seeing what's first read and what's subject to approval.
Right,
let's read it, subject to approval, make that cheat sheet.
right.
And if it was a sentence because of power school, like that one about the power school, which I think that one could be, then I'll just say, we want to add that phrase about power school,
Yes.
the military connect form.
Right.
Right.
And we might not need to send a book.
Well, still, you send the book, just in case they got a question,
Have it,
or they can look at it.
we're gonna
I'm
have,
gonna want to read.
Yes.
those
Yes,
new ones that
okay.
we're gonna adopt, that'll have to be the first
Later on.
and second read.
Okay.
And we'll put it on the agenda, the 4,300 minus the student behavior, so that'll count as the first read. And then the next one is the second read, and we'll be finished with the 4,300. And we'll be ready for the 7,000.
There'll be a number of, I don't know how many, but a number.
And I can get you.
Miss
Get
Karen,
through it.
do you know, Mr. Chairman, Miss Karen, do you know when you might want to have a committee meeting where we can put together our dates? Policy committee to meet with you all? When you do, send it out to us. Call us first. Mr. Simmons, do you agree, Mr. Gentry?
So I couldn't hear all of you.
I told her whenever they do get their date, if they could send it out to us, call us in advance to see if we're clear for this or that,
Yeah, that'll be fine.
and time.
I mean, to see where we're, what now?
Trying to put the committee together where the policy committee can meet with the school policy committee, because this is a lot of policy we've got to get done.
Right.
And there's a lot of things, not only this, there's a lot of things, we're gonna have to have more meetings, and whatever we gotta do to get it done, we gotta get it done. And it's okay.
But when you say school policy committee, you're talking about central office.
There's a.
Central office.
There's a school board policy committee.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
Central office policy committee. So right, Ms. Karen asked that we meet together. So, and we need to, because that eliminates time. And we may be able to see something that they don't see. They may see something we don't see.
Right.
We're working together hands in hands.
And as soon as I
Yeah,
get.
I'm definitely in favor of that.
Ma'am.
We'll look at our calendars tomorrow and come up with a date and, we'll come up with a date.
Sounds great. Sounds great.
That's good.
And not to overstep, but if we started on the first part of the 7,000, it would make sense to finish the second part of the 7,000. If you want to, Mr. Gentry, not to overstep, but then we would be finished with the student section and the personnel section. We can finish with those two sections.
So you're saying start with the 7,000 series?
Well, we already worked on one part of the 7,000, and if we worked on the other part of the 7,000, we
Go
can be
ahead.
finished with the 4,000s and the 7,000s relatively quickly.
Right. Yeah,
And we would have students and personnel done.
That makes-
relatively quickly.
that makes good sense.
We could be finished by November?
We're shooting for December.
Yes.
And I think once the new board members see exactly how it's done with the policy, the central office policy committee, you'll understand it better. How to flow.
Right. That sounds good. I hear a motion to adjourn.
So move, Mr. Chairman.
Second?
Don't leave there.
Don, you better second.
Don't leave there.
Don, you said?
I did, sir.
Okay.
Say aye.
Aye.
Aye. I'm not supposed to vote, Chair.